my hot take on actuators is that I think buying individual prepackaged actuators doesn't make sense in any remotely serious application.
Really?
No, I don't think it makes sense. Like, it makes sense for early prototypes.
Okay.
I think after that, you want a motor and a gear train that you design. It's like a motor off the shelf, gear train that you design, and electronics ideally that you design. I think you should, and we make that easy, right? That's the whole point of our tools.
Right.
And so by buying a prepackaged thing that slaps the electronics on the back, well, now you're form limited, right? And you're also form limited by having an off-the-shelf, typically cycloidal, but often also planetary or harmonic gear drive, right? They're expensive gearbox types that don't necessarily suit your application, and you often want to put a belt between your motor and your gearbox anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a belt there, then you can repackage it so that your motor's adjacent to it, so it's much slimmer, it fits in a knee or something better.
That's true. I mean, isn't that always the case? Like, if you're building an arm, you're building something crazy general purpose, probably not like, okay. If you're buying an arm, you might have a domain-specific thing in mind, but arms are built to do general things, I think, usually.
Yeah, but why would you build a general thing out of general things?
Exactly.
You're just like, the whole point of making something generalized is to make it fit a whole bunch of applications. And that's the thing that you're optimizing around. By using general purpose componentry, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
It's hard for me to describe this, but this is exactly how I feel. The future is so uncertain in engineering, where there's kind of two paths. One is a lot of prepackaged products, like the Tesla robot that is a human that does everything you need. And then the other is the design tools improve so that you say, I want a laundry machine robot. And then you just kind of get that as an output. And when I think about it, a lot of times that universe where the design tools get really good is better. Like, you're going to get something that is fundamentally better than a human ever could be. But it's tough. It's tough because a lot of things are just prepackaged.
It's also the point of the global economy, though, right? Like, you can have specialization to the degree of, some company, whatever, in like Eastern Europe could decide to build, or let's take the case of the robotic arms, because they're sufficiently generic. There's like it's X-Arm, I think they're called, in China, who've just cropped up and started making $5,000 robot arms. Well, think about the pure actuator cost. Unless you're doing something really specialized, like, no, an off-the-shelf arm is going to be better. It's going to have the software. It's going to be pre-calibrated. It's going to be able to do arm-like things.
That's true. That's where you get the kind of easy programming interface and all of that.
Exactly.
Right?
You get to actually do something useful, something novel, right? Like, that's exciting. The actuators, I think there is a place, but it should be in like novel architectures of robots.
Right.
And humanoids, again, are a general thing. Using general things to build general things is, in my opinion, like really nearsighted. Maybe for an early prototype, really early, but like in that case, you're just like, the cost shouldn't matter too much because, you're really building out, you're like, look at how much Figure or Tesla have to spend on this, right? You're competing with them who can afford to do that development early, to use general actuators and then to really optimize the daylights out of them.
It feels like they're going to go through the process of realizing that human, like yes, we can lift boxes up and down stairs as humans, but we hate it. It sucks. Like, and so that the form factor is not ideal for it, right?
Well, specifically, I actually think the general purpose robotics of a humanoid, or the general purposeness of a humanoid robotics, probably justifies its creation. The same as an arm is so bloody useful. You can stick it everywhere.
Right. It should exist. It should be something you can use.
Yes. And also, it will be the thing that you use way more than people who in their academic pursuit think you should, right?
Right.
Because, this is the same for LLMs. People have asked, like, oh, is an LLM really the right type of AI model to be using this application? Like, okay, have a quick look. But the answer is, it works better than you would expect in so many more locations, and it's off the shelf. It works. It's cheap. Just grab it. Try it first. And even if it's like, oh, well, we could potentially save like 2%. No. Just, it works. Move on. Do something else.
Right. You shouldn't premature optimization, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's just not worth it. Yeah, I totally think that's true. I mean, just to like put this into like perspective a little bit more, like, let's say that humanoid robots exist. Would they ever make sense for something like SMT soldering versus the pick and place machine? No friggin' in a way, because
No.
it's just so non-ideal,
No.
right? It probably never would make sense ever. That would be that would be like a meme level task.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Absolutely. The same way that, so I needed to find some circles in a large image the other day for an upcoming, big release. We'll discuss it later. But find some circles. It's like, how would I do this? Obviously, my brain from a certain era, pick up OpenCV, do it. And I was like, okay, is there a more modern way to do this? Could I just ask an LLM? And I was like, that's so stupid. We have the good generalized, like efficient circle finding thing. So like, no, of course you want specialization in like reasonable places.
Right.
Building general things with general things doesn't make sense, because then you've under optimized the general solution. That doesn't solve, that's what doesn't solve.
Okay, I lost you somewhere with the general. Okay, so general.
So a humanoid robot or a robot arm is a very generalized solution to robotics.
Yes.
Do not build humanoid robots or robot arms with intentionally generalized actuators.
Oh, okay.
Because if you do, now you're building a general solution, which is always going to be underperformant for any specialization that you try putting in, with underperformant components that are too expensive, and you're compounding the expense and the like unoptimization factor as a multiplier.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
And the whole point of building a generalized solution is that you can aggregate the cost of development across a whole wide range of applications.
Right.
So if you throw that out by just using a generalized actuator, then what's your business model? You can't make them cheaper than someone else could anyway.
Right. This makes sense. So these robots are going to obviously have specialized stuff for being a human. Like it doesn't make sense to use an off-the-shelf arm. Yeah.
That's kind of my thinking.
Yeah.
And so in order to justify general actuators, which I obviously have a place, early R&D obviously is like a trivial example. But you're thinking about like other novel robot architectures. Now, I don't know what those look like. So I'm glad someone else is thinking about those. I'm glad the tools to prototype those and experiment with them exist.
You're really turning, I don't know what the expression is, turning a leaf in my brain here. Because basically, like I was like, oh, well, automation is big now. I should build a robotic arm or do tutorials for building robotic arms or something like that. But it almost sounds like that's not really where it starts. Like, what about a belt drive? Something like that, right? Let's start with like the more foundational things that are used, like are practical for domain specific tasks rather than like, it's almost like saying, hey, to practice software, we're going to build the Google Cloud platform, this general purpose platform. It's like, no, you should build like a web service or something. That makes a lot of sense.
This is actually why we made the spin servo drive as our first premier example in Adapile, right? Because it's a generic building block motor controller, customizable motor controller for just about any well-integrated product you could want to imagine, rather than the full actuator. Because once it's actuator, it's practically application specific.
Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You can replicate the design. It's open source on GitHub.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this. I haven't looked at it. It's called the Spin Servo.
Yep, Spin Servo drive.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting. I will definitely be taking a look.
Okay. So what else do we have today, Seve?
There's this new laundry robot, and I thought this was so cool because people said for a long time, laundry or other consumer-oriented tasks are going to be the last thing to go. Yep. Like even though we all desperately want it, like industrial applications will always win when it comes to robotics. They'll hit it first. But then this company, I forgot. I have a Twitter. I have a thing that kicks me off Twitter. I totally forgot about it. Technical issues.
Yeah, Naz, if you could cut this out for us, just give us a moment.
Yeah, cut it out, Naz. So this is my custom Twitter extension. I have to click it.
Oh, you made this?
To get more time on Twitter.
Oh, that's incredible. I love it. Okay, Maz, maybe don't cut this out. This is awesome. I love it. Wait, can I get this?
Yeah, I mean, I might have pushed it to GitHub. I'll definitely make sure I push it to GitHub.
Oh, dude, no, I'd love this. And I'd love to do it for other websites as well. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I built it in 10 seconds with Claude too.
Love it.
Chrome extensions are actually really easy to make.
Makes sense. I want one specifically that kicks me off YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
Because so anyone from YouTube listening, I pay for YouTube Premium. I do not want the crack. Like there's great content on YouTube and it's not in the shorts. Stop putting them in front of me. Get rid of them.
Get rid of those shorts. But if you see our shorts, like
and subscribe.
Lots of electronics dev shorts. Yeah, definitely subscribe. But all the others. Oh yeah, super addicting.
I was just like, I can understand why if you're not paying as a user, your eyeballs at the time. I am paying. I don't see ads.
That's very true.
I want control over what I see.
Also, I don't know how you pay for YouTube Premium. I pay for Premium for 6 other people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I famously have the You're Dating Seve perks, which includes Netflix, YouTube Premium,
famously,
Spotify Duo.
Are you dating 6 women? Sorry, what's
retract. No, but yeah, you know, that's such a good point that we're paying so much for YouTube. I think I pay.
I think it's like $15-16 a month, right?
Yeah, but because of this family thing, I think it's like $250 for or something a year. And that's a decent amount to pay. Like you should have a little bit of control over that kind of stuff. That's definitely a good feature. I understand with TikTok because nobody pays for TikTok.
Yes, your eyeballs are the money, and like if they remove this feature from the unpaying users, like fair enough. You should know what you're getting, right? But
you know, I think if you really hate shorts specifically, I think there's like a feature. It might be like a uBlock feature where you can remove the shorts like tab.
I need to do that, and I need to run a home DNS that just nukes shorts functionality so it doesn't work on my phone and all that kind of stuff, because it throws it in front of me and I just go, ooh, like what happened?
That's my problem now is if I get kicked off of Twitter too much, I'll pull out my phone.
Yep.
and
your monkey brain's like, I know how to get around this. And
exactly.
Cheeky little monkey in there.
My girlfriend uses a bunch of time blocking apps, so I should get on it. I could probably. I almost feel like I should have an anti productivity suite. That's like, hey, this is all the things I use to just keep the monkey brain from going off.
Yeah. I see. The thing is, I have Opal, and I like it, but it is now the point with both Instagram and YouTube that I like the like quote unquote long form content as much as, you know, Instagram has that. I like my friends' content. I like the things that I subscribe to. I like long form YouTube content. I like the proper YouTube videos. I do not like the brain candy on either platform. And if Opal understandingly doesn't have the tools to manipulate like within the apps.
Yeah.
And so like that's something that I think, well, I'd love to rectify, but I digress. I'm sorry.
And we'll pay for it too, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Well said. Anyway, laundry robots. So this company, I think it's called Physical Intelligence, has created this robot that's able to pull your laundry out of the washer.
It can fold?
And fold it.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's tolerant. I think they'll show it a little bit later in the video, but it's tolerant to people coming up and messing with it and everything. So they really just said, you know what? Common opinion that
laundry is hard.
Laundry is hard. Industrial robotics come first. Let's build a consumer robot. Now, this thing is big, and I'm not sure it can navigate around every apartment.
It's also worth saying that this style of industrial robot with mechanism wheels and general purpose robot arms and HID and an e-stop, etc., like that would not be out of place in a factory. You see this type of robot.
Really?
No, of course not. You see this like, you know, the most common form factor of free robots in a factory, like the pallet robots they have rolling around at Amazon, right? But like, look at the base of that thing. It's the same thing, right? Like, you've got some mechanism wheels. It can go sideways, it can translate, it can rotate, and then it can drive around. And in this case, they've got 2 manipulators on top of it. ABB's been making a robot in terms of form factor. Like, we're talking hardware, physical form factor here, or mechanical form factor.
You know, the hardware innovation isn't too crazy here.
No, it's nothing wild.
Yeah, it's everything. It's just 2 arms. And then this kind of factory, what do you call this? This carriage thing in a factory.
The name's escaping me at the moment. I didn't sleep enough last night. But
the other interesting thing is the wheels. I forget what this type of wheel is, but it's got Mechnum.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a wheel that has rollers on the wheels so that it can translate.
Yeah.
Super cool.
It's so cool. It's awesome stuff. Forklifts sometimes have them too, which is just so cool because
Really?
you as a forklift driver can like go in any direction.
Yeah, any direction. Yeah.
That's super cool. So the software in this though, worth saying, like, so while yes, this like rough form factor of robot can exist in a factory today and does in terms of, you know, where it happens first, God, the software in that is so impressive.
Yeah.
Like it can fold clothes. Oh my God.
Yeah, folding. I mean, even for me, I don't know if you've ever looked at like a string problem or like actually just like undoing a knot is so hard. And like sometimes I'm folding and I almost have to start over because I'm like, all right, I didn't do this right.
That thing folds shirts better than I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't think this would work in my apartment necessarily because my Roomba can't get around. You know?
Well, that's why you need feet and legs, right? That's what the Tesla bot and the bigger robot are for.
Me and my girlfriend are pretty coordinated. And so we have crap lying all over our apartment and we just navigate around it. We have to turn on our phone's flashlight at night so that we can see all the crap on the ground. Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah. Like kids are going to change me, you know, when I can't have stuff on the ground.
Well, you won't step on them. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Growing up, I had cats and they would pee on clothes on the ground.
What?
And so, yeah.
It's so gross.
And so, yeah, it was like, I don't know. If you have cats, I think this is a common cat thing, but they just go, it's on the ground, so it's mine, so I'm going to pee on it. And so this kind of trained me not to put clothes on the ground. So I never had that as a habit. But I mean, I don't know if you have stuff shipped to your house, but like I have so many JLC boxes and crap like that I don't know where to put. Just have stacks all over Costco boxes.
Yeah, that's what the office is for. Thank God.
Yeah.
To a large degree. That's incredibly cool and so impressive. Do you think that company, Physical Intelligence, is likely to sell me, a consumer, a robot, or is likely to automate a laundry that I send my clothes to? Because that's what I do today. I have typically just use a laundry service, which is a common thing in San Francisco, more so than other cities. And there's sort of an economy around it, which means there's a lot of places you can get it done, right?
I think they have to be going consumer because I think consistently people have underestimated how much people are willing to spend in that kind of upper income bracket. Yeah. There's this guy, I'm blanking on his name, but the former GitHub CEO who
Nat Friedman.
I think it's Nat Friedman. He issued this thing, the Leaf Robot Challenge or something like that.
Yep.
And the goal was he wanted to not have to leaf blow. He wanted a robot that would just go out and quietly pick up leaves. Like one at a time, it doesn't matter, but just very quietly so that it didn't wake anyone up. It works all the time, right? And I think people are really underestimating how much people in these upper income brackets value their time and are willing to just say, I do not want to do any physical labor. Like, how would that take an hour of my time? Then I'll pay $200 a month for it. And $200 a month, that's pretty good, right? Like you're starting to justify robotics.
That is really interesting. $200 a month, but like you wonder what the economy here looks like. Will I have a robot that walks into my house, has the keys, and it can have auth tokens and all sorts of things, and picks up my laundry and walks it to a well-optimized facility within the city?
That's a great
and does
point.
it and then walks it back. Like, why do I care about my own machines? I'd get floor space back in my apartment, you know?
That's very true. That's so interesting because people do like if you think about the business plan. I would like lump this into a category of like made. Maybe that's not PC. I don't know. Like made robotics or like things that act as like a maid because we don't have maids or what do you call them? A home assistant.
Home assistants.
We don't have
servants.
Servants.
Yeah, sure. No.
Feels worse.
Well, so servants, at least in the British sense, are like the paid servants. To be clear, not the American servants. It's a different thing. Yeah.
We don't have home caretakers.
Yes.
In the US, or like cleaners.
Yeah, cleaners. Sure.
You might pay cleaners to come in monthly, but you don't have somebody. You don't have like a nanny kind of character. I think that's pretty common in other
robotic
countries.
Nannies.
Yeah, exactly. And when you work with cleaners in the US, the existing kind of conventional business model there is you pay once a month for them to come in. They have a key to your house, and they're just going to walk in and do things. So if there was a laundry robot that could do that. I think laundry is maybe too frequent, or maybe you would need something.
Well, that's the good thing about the robotics is they don't care if they have to come in, whatever, once every 2 days.
Right.
which is like, just imagine that, an amazing thing. You had this could be an expensive robot if you didn't have to own it, but you time shared it. So it would walk into your house at some point on a Tuesday, and it would let itself in. It's got tokens, when it's there. It will record it and upload it if you wanted to see it. You're not worried about someone else being in your house.
This is such a great question. It is the same as the Tesla cybertaxi kind of question, because I was blown away when they announced you own the taxi, right?
Yep.
But then I was immediately like, that makes sense. For so many people, they don't care it costs $30,000 or whatever. Even if it would be much cheaper to pay monthly, they want to own that vehicle because they don't want to put their kids in a vehicle that maybe somebody gross just sat in or something like that. And so there's kind of like this, like, it doesn't matter that the utilization is so low. People will still want to buy it.
Or it doesn't necessarily matter,
Doesn't necessarily matter. Yeah, we don't know, I think. We don't know what universe we're going to be much in.
It's interesting. I was having this conversation with some friends the other night, very similar, about the Tesla bot. And how much would you pay for one personally? How does it compare to other purchases in your life? Would you pay as much as your car? Is it worth more to you than your car?
I don't know what I would do with a Tesla robot right now.
Well, okay, so not right now, of course, but assuming it could do the things that are promised. It could clean up your house, it'd do your dishes, it would sort your stuff.
Dishes, laundry. I mean...
It would tidy up. It would take all the stuff off your floor, take your bins out. Like, we're talking every chore that you... Like, every single chore that you currently do, done perfectly every day.
I mean, oh man, that's worth a lot.
Is it worth more than your car?
Is it worth more than my car? No. You know what? That's kind of interesting.
That's an interesting question.
That's an interesting question. I know, just pricing this to things in my life. I've paid $200 for a cleaning of my house before in San Francisco. And then
a single instance.
A single instance, which
like
you could pay monthly or something like that. Yeah. And then I've paid like $700, $800 for a Roomba, which does a really crappy kind of one-time job of a floor, right?
Well, if the stuff,
but it is consistent. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I would pay. I think right now, if it was like $800 a month, that would be phenomenal.
Okay. $800 a month for the robot lease, whatever you mean.
Right.
Or robot repayment. Like, that's the question,
Yeah, if it was a payment, I would probably think like, okay, 2 years of this or something like that.
2 years of that. Yeah. Okay, so that's an expensive car then.
Yeah, what is that? That's like 10,000, 20,000 or something. Is that right?
$800 a month for 2 years. You're talking about like somewhere in the like high to mid teens range of thousands of dollars, which is like it's like a fine car. It's like a small new car kind of deal that you'd have a loan on. I think so. The consensus was from most people at this discussion was that they would pay more than their cars, and their cars are we're talking like typically like a Model 3 or Y Tesla.
Right.
And so the answer for them is like $50,000, $60,000 potentially.
Wow.
I don't know personally that I would spend 60. I think I'm probably more in the like low 20s, high teens with you.
Yeah.
But if it could actually do all of those things, that's for me like half an hour a day at least.
Yeah. How much would you pay for your time? I mean, it really is. People should think like, how much time does it save you? And then the high income people, they think of their time being worth like $50 to $200, and that logic is going to get more and more common, I think.
Yep.
Like, they're just going to be like, oh, it saves me 2 hours. Okay, I'll pay it this much.
Yeah. Particularly, this is actually one thing with the subscription economy that is really interesting is like when you subscribe to these types of services, or you have, whatever, everything from Uber Eats to whatnot, the time trade-off becomes much more real. It wasn't before, because you're like, well, I can't make more income. It's like, well, you could do extra work. You can consult. You can work for yourself. Startups are so common here that, yes, the time trade-off on that end is real.
Yeah.
And it is for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
They can work overtime. They can do all sorts of things. But now on the other end of things, like you can save time. You can buy time, basically.
Yep.
In just so many numerous ways.
Right. And then the time you buy, if you're able to make more money in that time, right? Because you can do that side gig.
Or enjoy yourself,
One of the things I love to kind of talk about that I feel like a lot of people don't know about is there's this concept of the creator economy where the creator economy, I think there's a lot of things associated with this thesis, but in my view, it's a more liquid job market. Mm-hmm. So you can work multiple jobs and you might not work all of them full time. Yep. And because of that, it's easier to change jobs because you can drop one and you have half income for a while.
Yep.
And you also get to you really get to play in the job market more, because you might like start a little bit of time on another job. And I like this idea of the creator economy having kind of these smaller companies and more diversity, because I think people would really move around and do things. And it really is, it really makes things open to this idea. Like, people paying for costs, they start to think of themselves like a business, and not just like, this is what I make and everything's fixed.
The trade-off is a lot of extra stress, which is something I worry about.
Yeah.
So Prop 33, you probably heard some ads for it in California. It looks like it's failed. And there's reasonable arguments to increase housing price and whatnot. It is allow cities to set their own rent control, roughly speaking, is the yes on Prop 33. The biggest pitch though that I had for it is it simplifies your life. I don't need to think that, I have to move out at XYZ time. No, I'm just going to roll month to month and I can move when it suits me. And I think one of the things that I found really shocking moving to the US is there's a lot of mental overhead in life here compared to other places.
Yeah.
And so while I agree with you that it's an enormous opportunity, I sincerely hope that it's also not too burdensome on just, your average person who wants to just like live and have a bloody job.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, for me, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get a dog because that ties you down. I'm going to do a bunch of things that essentially don't tie me down, like not sign an office lease, just rent and stuff like that. And I still feel that burden of moving. I'm like, man, there's a moving company and then there's this fee and that fee. And it's like, okay, so I'm taking like in San Francisco, I think moving, you almost just expect to pay $4,000 just in the associated cost, right?
Okay, I've always done it myself. I did not assume it was going to be that expensive.
Because like you're lucky, the housing market is so competitive. You're lucky if you're able to get your start date that matching up with your end date perfectly.
That's
so
true.
Just that overlap is going to cost you. And then you've got the moving and stuff like that. If you pay for a moving company, a lot of people, I don't have a car, so I've
actually saved money moving a few times because I'll go home for a couple of weeks and just not pay rent for 2 weeks.
For sure, I did that in Boston, New York, and I think you can do that where the housing isn't so competitive. Or if you have friends in the city, if you can stay with a friend for 2 weeks, then you can find housing in that time. But it goes so fast.
Blink of an eye, really.
Well,
we got spare space in the office. You can come sleep here.
I don't know if I've said that. I think I've probably tweeted this or something before, but I was briefly did not have a house in Boston. I broke up with my girlfriend with no plan. And I was living in her apartment. And so I slept in a WeWork for a couple weeks.
Whoa.
Or no, I think about a week.
That's crazy.
I only got walked in on once.
Nice.
But it's also crazy to have that little of like stuff where you can do that. Like
I almost ended up doing that when I lived in Munich. So Lilium just gone under actually, which is a bummer, but assuming that they go under, maybe we can do an episode on my time there and some of the internal secrets when they're no longer relevant and no one's going to sue me.
So they just went under recently.
So they're in receivership. Their stock's down to 5 cents 5 cents a share.
Oh wow.
And no one really wants to bail them out. It's roughly where they're at.
Ouch.
Rough. But when I first moved to Munich, also an extremely competitive housing market. And they're out in basically the forest, about 30 Ks out of town. So, short chain ride. It's on an airport campus and there's a forest next to it. There's a forest next to it and looks like plenty of space for camping. There was a little nap room. They have showers and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I thought, actually pitching a tent in that forest there instead of stressfully trying to find a place to live seems nice. And it turns out I was not the first one to think of it.
Funny.
I mentioned to a couple of colleagues and they said, oh yeah, I thought the same thing when I first moved here. So it's common thought really.
And you're good at camping. So you could have pulled that off and not looked like a rack, right?
Well, I would have just got in earlier than everyone and showered first. Hey guys, I'm excited to work,
You know what they say when you live in your car, everybody knows you live in your car. Like it's really hard to hide it.
Because you smell.
I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's like bags or like general tiredness. But they say that it's hard to hide when you're in a really weird housing situation near your office. Sense. But Yeah, I mean, I think at a WeWork, it was effectively, decoupled enough. People didn't really detect
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Last question I have for you on the laundry robots and the robots in general.
Yeah.
What task would you be most excited about? Some robot that could do just about any task for you, if you not know any chore for you at home. What would you be most excited about it doing?
Man, I mean, for me, it would be putting things away, just like moving those boxes. But there is one specific thing
Yep.
that drives me crazy beyond anything else.
Yep.
Cardboard boxes.
Okay.
I have so many cardboard boxes. I'm on the third floor, cutting them. I have nowhere to cut them.
Okay.
So getting them downstairs,
Just having a
cutting
robot
them.
that, like, tears it apart.
Yeah, every year I have a moment where I get enraged about box cutting, and I look at one of these industrial shredders, the one you can put anything in and it shreds it, and I look at it like really hard. I'm like, can I build it? Can I buy it?
Yep.
They always don't take like they take like 240 volts or whatever, so I can't like run it. So I'm like, but like, yeah, I mean, those things cost maybe $1,000. A really cheap one.
Yep.
And I'm like, I hate this task so much.
Yep.
I would kind of be willing to pay for it. I don't mind like all the paper shreds bringing it down.
Yeah.
But,
That's so interesting.
What about you? What do
it's
you?
actually so adjacent. You talk about putting things away as the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah,
and I thought, oh my God, we're on the same page. So it's a good indicator to anyone out there looking to start a company in robotics.
Just put it away. How hard could it be? Just put stuff away.
Put stuff away. I like whenever I get home from like typically a weekend trip, which I do a lot. I go camping or we go travel around the country for a short weekend. I get back, I'm like destroyed after a big time out.
Yep.
And I've got a bag full of stuff that is now on my floor.
Yep.
I wish all of that stuff was not on my floor and was put away.
Yeah.
Basically.
And the consequences too. Like we went camping. We had a cooler. It was full of stuff.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, but some food particles, and we just forgot to clean it out. And now we have a disgusting cooler, and it was just, we were so tired when we got back, and then you forget,
it's so easy to do. Anyway,
totally agree.
Perfect task then, putting stuff away.
Putting things away. Get to it, people.
Seve, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks for inviting me yet again to the Autopile office. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Autopile.
Okay.
I feel like is it worth a clarifying note? I might have said Autopile wrong a couple times. Is that a hard A? How do you?
Yeah, Autopile. You got it.
Autopile. Yes.
Thanks, Seve. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt. See you soon.